Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Michaelis Cage, and today, if you can read above, we are ranking every Stephen King movie adaptation, remake, TV adaptation, TV miniseries. And as you can see behind me, I found a great tier list. It took a ton of searching because I kept typing Stephen King movie tier list, Stephen King movie tier list, and every time I went to a movie tier list, they would have some of the TV shit, but then like the Langoliers wouldn't be there, the Tommy Knockers wouldn't be there, and shit like that. It was big in my Stephen King growing up because first off, like the '90s miniseries, and on top of that, the DVD rush, like in the early 2000s, from like 2000 to 2004, all of Stephen King shit was getting released on DVD. So I was just eating it up, and I was watching those. So that's a big time for me. Like the Langoliers, Tommy Knockers, Storm of the Century. What's another one? I think it's about it around that. Like they're all like ABC miniseries, but they came out on DVD a little bit after it. It came out obviously pretty quickly on DVD because that's a huge sell. So yeah, that's like so. A lot of some of the rankings, if you're a big Stephen King purist in his author form, I love Stephen as an author. He's definitely my favorite author. But I do have a real soft spot for these movies, even if they are terrible. Looking back at them, as a kid to me they weren't terrible. As a kid to me they were amazing. So a lot of them will get a better ranking from me than say the average Stephen King fan would probably give some of these. I mean, a lot of them I watched literally, from 9 to well, I mean, I still watch them to this day, but seeing them for the first time in that 9 to like 14 to 15 range can really just give a movie that more of that homey feeling when you want to go back and watch it. And just when I would go to the store to rent these, the movie like store, and just getting a bunch of Stephen King movies and go and having a whole night of the main the vibe. Stephen King has a vibe, so getting a whole vibe like night of Stephen King was always a fun and very memorable night because most of the time you did have a few gems in there, and most of the time they scared the shit out of you. As a kid, he really knows how to hit that psyche, which is why I think Stephen King is a lot of people's um, bridge into horror. I think he is a big thing for like preteens and teens getting into horror. Uh, Stephen King's huge for that. He's very good at hitting like what kids kind of fear, and he's just hitting that psyche of like and making you feel like a kid when you read them. With a lot of them having to deal with kids, it kind of it just it really he's really good bridge, and I think none of his stuff is too like crazy or like insane, except for the one part in it. Everybody know the one part in it. Part's a little crazy and insane, and no kid should probably be reading that. But other than that, like there's nothing too wild if you're getting into like his main stuff. But I mean, we got a long list, we got a big list, and if I get some that come to mind as we're ranking it that I don't see on here, we will absolutely write them down, and I'll tell you where I think I would put them. Right now, the only one that I don't see on here is Pet Cemetery 2, and I know that that's a just a really they just a cash grab on the name, and he had literally nothing to do with that. I'm still gonna rank it, and we'll get to that when we get to the Pet Cemeteries because whoever made this list not only has like all of them, they put them in alphabetical order. So awesome, thank you, whoever made this list, you did it. Except for Pet Cemetery 2, your judgment on that one, I don't know. It's still a Stephen King property. It's the town is the same, right? So let's get into it. And we start off with 11/22/63, starring James Franco. This is a Hulu miniseries, and this wasn't too bad. Hulu for a second there is really popping out Stephen King miniseries with this and Castle Rock, which Castle Rock to me was a whole lot better than this. 11/22/63. It's one of my favorite Stephen King books in his later days because I'm not a big fan of like a lot of his newer stuff. There's a few ones like Doctor Sleep, Cell, 11/22/63. that I enjoyed for later Stephen King, but a lot of them, and especially a lot of the cop like detective Mr. Mercedes type shit, and a lot of those in kind of like the magical Harry Potter, like the Institute or whatever that was, and that was okay, but a lot of them had that vibe, and I don't love it. They're still decent reads, don't be wrong. So 11/22/63 was one of my favorite books of newer King, but the adaptation I kind of got bored of after a while. I'm gonna give it average because I couldn't. I don't want to say I could live without it because I've definitely wanted to return to it. I've definitely thought about returning to it. So I'm not gonna say that I could live without it, but I will give it an average. It's definitely not top tier. Definitely not top tier. And then we go to 1408. Okay, see now, this is what I was worried about, right? Is there's got to be this, because I don't think 1408 is top tier, but I don't think 1408 is average. Oh, messed that up. So what I guess I'm gonna do is we're gonna add this. We're gonna give it this color, I guess. We'll add row below. Did we add two? All right, so we got average. Yeah, we want this. So this has to be yellow. Sorry, I thought I had a. I was actually worried about this, but I didn't know if there a movie would come to, and I definitely didn't expect it to be that quickly. So these are different colored, I guess. It says, yeah, I guess they are colored. All right, so there we go. Average could live without. New, I guess I'll just give this like a B tier. Like I don't know what to call this. I don't have any funny name for it yet. Maybe we'll get a funny name for it. I guess I didn't go over the list. We have the best. Maybe there's gonna be like one that I know for a fact that I'm gonna put in here, and maybe two. We'll decide that when I did the Office tier list. If you saw my episode from the Office, I ranked every Office character that appeared on the show. I had one goat character, so I don't know if I'm gonna do that again. I don't know if I'm gonna. I may. There may be a couple up there because there's a couple in my head that might hit the goat the best. We have our classics because there's gonna be Stephen. Say what you want. Some of these adaptations are absolutely classics. If you are getting into horror and movies in general, first off, movies in general just are like borderline classics. We'll get to them when we get to them. I want to say them and start talking, but we'll get to them when we get to them. Obviously, top tier. This is like like above the B tier. Average could live without. Like these are ones that might be average, but I'll never go back to. Or like if I do go back to it, I don't enjoy it even as much as I did when I didn't really enjoy it the first time. Then we have Poo Poo, which I think that describes itself, and then the worst of the worst. It doesn't get worse than this on Stephen King adaptations. The Firestarter remake. In a time when you didn't need a movie about superheroes, you could adapt literally anything else. They adapt Firestarter. You could remake almost any Stephen King thing right now, besides like It and Pet Sematary and Carrie, because you just recently did those. So you could almost remake anything. And you're like, let's go for something that literally everybody is doing right now and do a superhero one. Like such a stupid remake. So obviously we know where the Firestarter remake goes. So let's just put them in there right now. Firestarter remake. The name gave that one away. It is the bottom tier. It is the poopiest of poo. It's not even poo. It's worse than poo. All right, 1408. This is exactly what we made a B tier for. Because this is a solid movie. A fun watch. It can be debated like what it was. They have the alternate endings that kind of have caused the debate a little bit. 1408 is a blast. Cusack and Samuel Jackson, who have been in multiple Stephen King adaptations, even together. The later one, not so great. But 1408, definitely a fun watch. A good little ghost story, and then turns into more. It's a fun time. I don't want to give too much away because if you haven't seen it, I would recommend it. And you might even enjoy this more than I do. Like, I'm not a huge a ghost story guy. Like, ghosts and stuff don't really spook me out too much. But I enjoyed this one. So I would say go watch it. It could even be higher on your tier list than mine. But I got it on a beer tier. For some reason, they put 1922 in here twice. I'm not sure. Either way, could live without. I don't care about this one. Thomas Jane, he's in a ton of Stephen King shit. I love when he's in a Stephen King one. You know it's going to be at least decent. Like I said, this was decent. I just could live without it. I'm never going to go back to this. There was one around this time called Into the Tall Grass. It was similar. I may have liked it a little more, let's say. I may be a little more lenient on that. But that went Into the Tall Grass. I still haven't returned to it. So maybe it could still be could live without, but I'm not sure. We're just going to leave this down here. I'm not going to have two of those up there ruining my tier list. Apt Pupil. Now, this is an interesting one, right? Because I've only watched Apt Pupil when I got a Stephen King pack of DVDs when I was like 11, right? So Apt Pupil I had no interest in this. But then I read the short story in college, and I really enjoyed that. So for me, as judging it as an 11-year-old, Apt Pupil would be I could live without. But I feel like Apt Pupil would at least be a B tier if I really watched it now, which I'm gonna do. I'm gonna mark that down. Apt Pupil is gonna get on the watch list. I don't want to forget Apt Pupil. Because I do need to rewatch that. Like, I haven't watched that as like an adult. So I'm not gonna put it in Could Live Without. We're gonna put it in the average. And if this gets fixed, maybe I'll put it in the comment section. If anyone cares, I'm sure no one's gonna give a shit. I'll put it in the comment section where I think Apt Pupil really belongs. But I'm not gonna put it in Could Live Without because I'm already returning to it. So it's at least average. Bag of Bones. Bag of Bones. Bag of Bones. Now, I'm kind of okay. Okay, I was thinking, like, I'm kind of getting this mixed up with the Lovely Bones. What was the Lovely Bones? Hold on. The Lovely Bones. Who wrote the Lovely Bones? It was directed by Peter Jackson. I knew that. Based on a novel by Alice Simbaud. Was it like similar plots? Hold on. Centers around a young girl who has been murdered and watches her family killed for purgatory when she was away. And like she helps them find her lost body. Okay, now Bag of Bones. I'm definitely mixing these up. After a wife's sudden death, the best-selling author returns to his cabin. I do remember all that. Outcomes of all the custody bat. Okay, I remember this now. Pierce Brosnan. Okay. This got boring, I remember. This was like Mick Garris's return. I remember this now. I was definitely mixing both of them. And I remember like the Lovely Bones not being too bad. But that was definitely a mix-up. And Bag of Bones. I'm not going to say poo-poo, but I'm going to say Could Live Without because I'm definitely not going to return. I remember it getting boring towards the end. Maybe it's like a binge-worthy. Maybe I can go like binge through it, you know? I remember just like, it was one maybe I was waiting for, or I just watched like 4 or 5 episodes and then it took me forever to return. So, I don't know. Big Driver. Now, Big Driver is a funny one because Big Driver was a Lifetime movie with what's her name, Marie. I think it wasn't the girl from hold on. I think it's the girl from Grown Ups, Kevin James's wife from Grown Ups. Yeah, Maria Bello. Yeah, it is Maria Bello. She was also in A History of Violence. I'm sure she doesn't like to be known as the girl that was Kevin James's wife in Grown Ups. But Maria Bello, there's always, every once in a while, Lifetime just has an idea for a fire movie, and I don't know why. One of their sometimes all their stupid ideas of their crazy, ridiculous movies. Sometimes one of them is just a brilliant idea, and that's like the unauthorized story of Saved by the Bell, the Two Coreys movie, the New Edition movie. A lot of them are biographies because they just like they do the biographies. I guess they don't care if people hate them because they're always unauthorized. But let's just put all the smut in it, even if it's a lie. I don't care. Throw it in there. But this one they were like, let's do a Stephen King adaptation, right? Because this one's a little lifetimey. Like the whole point of this movie with the sexual assault and stuff in the movie, like, so this is a lifetimey plot, and I was waiting there on Lifetime at 8 o'clock when this bad boy premiered, and waited through commercials and all. They got me. But I actually enjoyed this. I'm gonna give it average because I haven't returned yet. But if I do return to that, this is one that could possibly get bumped to a B, right? But we're going average. But Big Driver was a good time. The original Carrie. Oh boy. This is a good one, man. I remember seeing this for the first time. Like, just it's a lot. I mean, the last half an hour of it's just spectacular. I mean, they even did a good job in the remake. Carrie. Now, Carrie is 100%, without a doubt, no matter what, a classic horror film. So, I have to put it in the class. I was going to put it in top tier, but it's like, how do you not put Carrie in classic? The blood-soaked, like, everything of, like, there's so much about this movie that when you're getting into horror, you've already seen these images. Or, like, they've been duplicated so many times that it feels familiar. So Carrie is obviously a classic. I was gonna go top tier. I think that would tarnish my list a little. Now the Carrie remake, to me it almost felt unnecessary, right? It almost feels unnecessary. It's very similar. The last scene's cool. It's definitely good, right? But sometimes it just is like, why? That's not one that's for a remake. And that's where, like, I thought the Pet Sematary remake, I thought could be really good. And I was really excited. We'll get to how, if it lived up to the excitement that I had for it, or if I was sadly disappointed. We'll get to that. But Carrie, I just was like, why? It's not one that they couldn't tell. And, like, they told it perfectly. They told it fine. Everything was done. It's like redoing Misery. Unless you do Misery as a miniseries, to where you really break down. It's like 6 hours long. You do like a 6-hour Misery. But if you remake Misery as a movie, it'd be like, why? It's already been done. It's been done as well as it can be done. And it's funny, 'cause I was just watching Pushing Up Daisy's YouTube video. One of the Murder She Wrote. I've never seen a Murder She Wrote episode, but I love Pushing Up Daisy's Murder She Wrote synopsis of like episodes she did. But one of them, she actually talked about it. Rob Reiner directed Misery, and somehow I never knew that. I never knew Rob Reiner directed Misery, and it's a fabulous movie. So good job, Rob Reiner. But Carrie, the remake, it's probably average, but you know what? I'm gonna put it in the could live without, because after I watched the remake, the first thing I got out of the theater and said was, why? So, if that's not the definition it could live without, I don't know what is. Castle Rock. I am so sad Castle Rock was canceled. This was such a cool idea to have different, like, Stephen King characters mingling and crossing paths, and, like, them running into different, like, entities and evilnesses from Stephen King stories was such a cool idea. It's very niche, so I can understand like putting a lot of money into it. And they had people like Lizzie Kaplan and Bill Skarsgård. This is a fantastic show, especially if you know the lore and the Easter eggs. It's sad it's still not on the air or on Hulu. This shit is top tier. It does kind of get it's up and down, but the idea is amazing, and it's something I wish was still on TV. I'm giving it top tier because it's not B, it's not classic, it's not B. It's top tier though. I'm gonna rewatch it again. I'm gonna write that down too. We got At Pupil and Castle Rock. We're about to get Stephen Kingy. I'm about to get real. I already feel the Stephen King nostalgia flowing through the brain. It took me like I was getting all this ready, and I was like, man, let's get into this video. And I was like, I don't know, like I wasn't feeling it. But the second I started going talking about Stephen King, I mean, we're already 20 minutes in. And I was like, this might be a 40-minute video. We might be hitting the hour 20 mark. All right, let's get into it. The Cell. Jesus. Now, this was one of... I read this so fast. This might be the fastest book I ever read for some reason. It just hit me at the right time. A new Stephen King novel was out. I was still hot into my Stephen King craze, so I was just flying through his books. And it was like one I went and got it at midnight because it was like a height for me. This was like the height for like... I was in high school. So everything about this was just perfect timing for me to fly through this book. And I read it in like a day and a half, maybe 2 days. I was done with this. And I loved the book. I thought the book was amazing. And now we've seen 713 zombie movies since then. So I don't give a shit. And this movie was so bad. They started talk about this movie literally weeks after the book released, because it was a huge hit. The book was a huge hit, and literally weeks after, I remember news coming up. Oh, this person bought this. They bought the rights. They're starting, and then it was in development hell for so long. I cannot believe how long we had to wait. And then when it finally released, this is the product we got. This is the definition of a poo-poo stinker. A poo-poo stinker. And this is when I need sound effects. I need to get a soundboard. So I could have went, oh, and just made a big a poo-poo stinker. You know. Either way, that movie sucked. Now this right here. So I'm looking for the list, right? And I'm just like, what the hell? I cannot find the complete list. I don't know a list. And then I come across this list. And the first thing I looked for to know it was a complete list was Tommy Knockers and Storm of the Century. Nothing had Tommy Knockers or Storm of the Century. And I don't know why. This does. Boom, boom. But I saw this, Chapel Wait. And I was like, what the hell is this? And so I get on the Google machine. I start Googling. And it's a show on MGM Plus that I never heard of that stars Adrian Brody. That was based on Jerusalem's Lot. Now, you spend the money to get the Stephen King property, Jerusalem's Lot. And then you change the name to something like, even as a person who has read it, I had no connection. First off, I've never seen promotion for this. It came out in 2021. So I'm guessing it's canceled. I saw no promotion for this. But second of all, even if I did see promotion for this and it didn't have Stephen King's name plastered on it, I would have no connection that this was Jerusalem's Lot. Zero. I'm gonna watch this. I had no idea it existed. I'm gonna keep it down here because I'm not gonna taint my list with lies. If I haven't seen it, I'm telling you, I've seen the rest. If I haven't seen it, I'm not gonna put it on my list. So I haven't seen this other 1922. I guess maybe some extended director's cut. Maybe I did watch that one. I don't know what this is. Chapel Wait, I had no idea it existed until I saw this list. Started Googling. I was like, this shit looks good. So yeah, that was a bit of a shocker. Nobody. I will actually say this: it has never happened. No Stephen King property has ever been slipped by me. So good job, MGM Plus. Your advertising is fantastic. All right. So now we are up to Children and the Corn. So now, when I think about it, at first I was like, why the hell wouldn't he have Pet Cemetery 2 on here? And then it's like, well, think about all the other sequel type things to his movies or his books. And you have the 18 no 7 no no 22 Children of the Corn sequels. Um what's the other one? There's a Firestarter 2. I think I watched like half of it one time. Now Carry to the Rage. Where that's hold on, I'm writing that one down because I will rank that one. Carry to the Rage. We'll go through those ones at the end. The ones that I think are missing. That one I think needs a little because they connect it, and it wasn't as cheap. Actually, it was because I think it was just probably called The Rage, right? And they're like, no, Carrie 2, it's Carrie's niece. um, but Firestarter 2, that kind of sucked. There was another one that I had. I was like, oh, that makes sense. And I don't know now. Oh, sometimes they come back. But, see, I don't mind the sequel. I didn't like the third one. So the sequel, I think, would probably be on the same level as this one. So I'm not upset about that. And I guess that's it. The Mangler, too. The Mangler here. It took me forever to find out what this what this poster was. And I think it's the Mangler. Just by where it is. Alphabetically it makes sense. I'm not sure if that's a dryer. But I think it's the Mangler. We're gonna say it's the Mangler, so that's the Mangler. I think that's it though. So the Mangler 2, I guess that makes sense that they're not gonna use that. Pet Cemetery 2. So I guess besides Boogeyman, really only Boogeyman because it's like brand new, and I think this list was probably made before that. I guess if we keep off all sequels besides Doctor Sleep, then I won't have to make my own list. I guess it kind of makes sense. Pet Cemetery 2 is not on here. Let's get to Children of the Corn though. Children of the Corn, a fun classic movie. It's very tame, very mild. So it's one you can definitely show young kids, and it's one that'll stick with a young kid. It'll definitely stick with you. But it's not crazy. You know, it doesn't get too bloody. It's not too scary. Kids are the antagonist. So it's fun. It's always fun for kids to see kids. I don't know. It's always fun for kids to see kids. But so I mean, the ending that gets a little wild and gets a little off track. But when it's just the town and there's only kids and it's a little spooky, it's always at the big. Definitely the first hour, like 10 of this movie, I love. I'm gonna give it B tier because I'm not gonna give it average. It's not on the same level as Big Driver, but yeah, 1408 level. Children of the Corn. At one point, it might have been top tier, but to me, it's a little boring now. It's not one I can watch a lot. I need to take like 5 years now to watch it. I used to kind of watch it every now and again, but where it's like I'll watch every 3 months, maybe 4 months. Sometimes I'll pop on it 2 weeks after watching it. The first one, the original miniseries. The remakes of it, we'll get to how much I watched those, how much I enjoyed those. I a little prematurely started talking about it, my love for it. Christine, besides it and Pet Cemetery, Christine might have been one of the first times where I went. I think I watched it in Pet Cemetery, and then I was like, oh, this Stephen King guy's good, right? I think I was like, oh, this is the same dude. I started connecting stuff as a kid. I was like, oh, connection. And then I think one of the first things that I watched after I started making a connection and went to the movie store looking for Stephen King, Christine was one of them. I'm 90% sure. I probably saw Cujo before it too, but Yeah, so Cujo was like in with me going, oh, this guy's good. So Christine was like the first time I think I went searching for a Stephen King property, and I was like, oh, I really really like Stephen King. Like this movie's like not there's nothing really terrifying about a killer car, but just the relationships and the character building of Arnie, and just the whole the relationships of all the characters. I love it. Like you get so invested. Like I remember like not wanting this movie to end. As a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, sometimes you're like, "Oh my god, will this movie just fucking end so I can get on with my day, so I can play my PS2." Um, but at this point in time, I remember this is probably one of the first movies I was like, American Pie was probably another one, but this was probably one of the first movies I remember watching. Going, I don't want this to end. Like I want to stay here in this world. I definitely felt that for American Pie and Scary Movie as well. Those were some other ones where I was like, I want to stay in this world longer, and then we ended up staying in that scary movie world a little too long, and without the Wayans Bros, so they got a little rough. But Christine, that is top tier. Boom, shakalaka for me. Man, now, hold up. Do I put... No. Children of the Corn would have been top tier for me. I think it is a little boring now, so I'm going to keep it in B. Christine is definitely top tier. Cujo. Cujo's a classic, right? Cujo is one of the first movies I remember being scared watching. Like, I was scared every dog was going to get bit by a bat. I was terrified my dog was going to get bit by a bat. While watching it, I was scared that my dog did get bit by a bat. Cujo, man, and it's one you can definitely show a kid. It's just two people like in a car, and it's just the dog. Like it is literally a child's nightmare. It's a good movie, and this is why I say that Stephen King is such a bridge for horror, because a lot of them are good, like not good, but if you want to show a kid horror, like Cujo's not terrible. Like it's like you could, it's not a bad bridge to getting a kid into horror. And Cujo is a classic, but I'm gonna put Cujo in top tier because Cujo is a good time. But I don't know if it's that really that classic. Now, Cujo could get bumped up. Now, hold on. If something comes along where I'm like, okay, this cannot be in the same realm as Cujo, but it's not B tier, so we have to bump Cujo up. That could happen. Now, if I have to bump Children of the Corn up after a while, that could happen too. Those are ones that are on the verge. So this tier list is not finalized yet until we've been through them all. So remember that. So don't get mad and be like, oh, fuck this guy. This guy doesn't know shit. He has Children of the Corn B and not top tier. It's on the teeter right now. So just hold your horses. Get pissed at me at the end. Watch it all, then get pissed. And now we are to D's, the dark half. Oh boy, I love the dark half. The dark half is like one I just caught on TV one day. I had the DVD, but it wasn't this cover. It was not this cover. I remember it was like a blue cover, and it just had like who's the guys at Tim Robbins or someone like that. It's like I forget who it is exactly. But it just had him like turned around, and it really looked like a PBS like or a BBC a Sherlock goofy movie. I was like, well, this looks like one of those terrible Stephen King ones. Because there was times where we just buy Stephen King like packs or like just any Stephen King thing that they had online at that spot. You would just buy them all, and so like some of them would get set aside when a lot of 7 come in. And then by the time you get through 5 of them, you know, you got a different DVD. So, and I remember I had the dark half unopened, but I was flipping through the channels one day, caught it perfectly, and it's like Stephen King's The Dark Half. And I was like, you know what, why the hell not? Sat and watched it and had a fun time. This right here is the definition of B tier, which is why I think we got a bump. It's already getting bumped. Children of the Corn's top tier, right? This is more like, yes, B tier. Children of the Corn's top tier. I apologize. See, if you left, If you stayed and you disagreed, but you stayed, thank you. Because now you see. That's why you need to feel out the list a little bit. The Dark Tower. Okay. So first off, if anything ever needed to be a TV show that Stephen King did, it's 100% The Dark Tower. Like there is zero reason this needed to be a singular movie. And on top of being a singular movie, to explain and even grasp what the hell is going on, that movie better be at least 2 hours and 45 minutes. This movie came in at what? 94 minutes? I don't remember. But I remember it being in the 90s. Oh, like it was in the 90s. There is zero way 95 minutes. There is zero way you can make the Dark Tower make sense to somebody that has no clue what is going on, which is what you have to do in a movie. It's for the general public. It's not just for the people that read a niche Stephen King novel or like novel series. Like, so it's such an insane idea to make it 95 minutes. And you had such great casting. Idris Elba as the uh the what is his name? I can't think of his name. I apologize. Roland. And then you had Matthew McConaughey as Man in Black. What the fuck is his name? Man in Black. Walter. Uh, just it was decent casting on McConaughey. I love the Idris Elba casting, but terrible execution. And we gotta put it in the poo poo. I do think Cell is more poo poo, so we can do that. I guess I could rank them that way too, cause like I want that. Boom. See, I think Cujo is probably like more higher on like the I don't know. They're both pretty high in the zeitgeist too, like just being in the general public. These two right here are so close of a match to like on how effective they are in the similar ways. I would say like with the bridge gap. Like that's why so many. That's why these two movies stick with so many people because they see them when they're like 13 or 12. It's like some of the first horror movies they see. So it's like funny how they stick together. But I do like Castle Rock a lot. I'm gonna pop this. Boom. That's my ranking on that. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. Carrie's number one here for sure. We're gonna have them in order too, so this is gonna be the ultimate tier. We're gonna tier the tier list, and I did enjoy the Dark Tower more than Cell because I did know what the hell was going on, so I wasn't lost. All right, The Dead Zone, the original with Christopher Walken. Now I watched this as a kid. I've never gone back. It's not a could live without because I mean, first off, it's Christopher Walken, and I could never live without more Christopher Walken in the world. So I'm not gonna get that. I remember liking it, but I remember I rented it. I probably rented it like with Graveyard Shift and like Maximum Overdrive or Salem's Lot or like you know what I'm saying. I probably rented a lot of Stephen King, so it was like it was all right for the night, so it never really stuck with me. So, but I'm not gonna give The Dead Zone a could live without, but I am gonna give it an average. But it's gonna go to the top of the average tier list because I do remember it pretty vividly. I said it was enjoyable. I didn't hate it. It was fine. It's fine. The remake I could definitely live without. Wasn't this like a show that went on for like 6 seasons? Wasn't it? Like am I mistaken that was something else? This is like a show that went on, right? Yeah. Had 81 episodes, 6 seasons exactly. I was exactly right. Yeah, like I remember watching like 2 seasons and by the time it got to like season 3 or 4 or whatever, I was like, are you like, what the fuck's going on? So I could live without it. It was, I didn't finish it. It was fine. Maybe I'll, you know what? Maybe I'll check it out. See if it was, see how shitty it is. See if it holds up at all, or if I was, because that came out like right in the middle of like one of my king crazes too. So, ugh. Now desperation. Desperation. One of my favorite, probably my, if not my favorite Stephen King novel, my second favorite Stephen King novel, and it was the first like Stephen King like that I read. I remember I got it from the library. I just got a library card, and that was hot shit at my new time. Like I was probably like 9, right, 10 maybe, 10. Hot shit. Got a bunch of these cool ass sports books that were like about the '80s teams, some '90s teams that I learned about. Was it Todd Marovich or whatever? Robo QB. This book was talking about him like he was the next greatest thing like ever because it was like a USC one, and then he never. Obviously, you know what happened to that. So it was like funny. But so I rented all those and I was like, because I was all worried. I was like, are they gonna let me get this? So I snuck in the giantest, most giant book that I had, Desperation, a Stephen King book, and got that, and it was the first one I read, and oh my god, I loved it. I was scared, I was terrified, I was having an absolute blast. I had an absolute blast with it. Like I said, if it's not my favorite, it might be my second. Like it's between that and it. Man, God, Desperation's so good. But this movie, Ron Perlman's performance in it, amazing. The movie is kind of a letdown. It's not average. I'm putting it in the B tier because of Ron Perlman's performance alone. Bite me. I told you people, some of you are going to completely disagree. That would be poo-poo on some people's list. Not this man's list, and I'm a fan of the book. But, like I said, I had a good time with it. Ron Perlman's performance is decent. I believe this was another Mick Garris, a Mick Garris return to the Stephen King universe, and it was decent. Now, Doctor Sleep. Doctor Sleep's an interesting one because this was a fabulous movie. All right, I mean, I think it's just top tier. And that's just where you put it, top tier. I haven't returned to it yet. I mean, I wanted to return to it after watching The Shining. It's been on my to-do list, but I haven't. I'll get there at some point. So it's not a classic to me yet. After a couple more watches, it might be. But like I said, I haven't returned yet. But I do know that I love that shit. It's definitely top tier. It's definitely above these three little guys. It's definitely above these dill holes. So I think it's a perfect spot for it. I think it's definitely behind Cujo. Yeah, I think it's a perfect spot for Castle Rock, Doctor Sleep. It's a perfect spot for all of them. This is a beautiful tier list. I don't even know, besides Desperation, to where, like, if you're like, I'm a huge Desperation, Desperation purist. You know how purists are. You know how people are with fucking adaptations alone. So unless you're that dude, then they'd be like, this is like poo-poo, or I could live without it. I didn't need it. That type of shit. But nah, that's B to me. 100% B. We're having fun here. I enjoy them. Sometimes they're shitty. Sometimes it's like, at least we have it. You know what? It could be worse, and it could have never been made. Unless it's Trucks. Or the Firestarter remake. And you know what? Let's just not even waste time. Trucks is a big honking piece of shit. It's worse than poo-poo. Is it better? You know what? It is better than the Firestarter remake. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I was not excited for the Firestarter remake, but the fact that Zac Efron was involved, I was like, fuck yeah, we got Zac Efron, dude. And then I was like, Zac Efron, Stephen King, hell yeah. And then it's like, oh, they're doing Firestarter. I remember it was like, Zac Efron's do. I remember the fucking article I clicked, and they left what movie it was out on purpose because I wouldn't have clicked on the damn article if they didn't. Said Zac Efron joins a Stephen King adaptation, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, boop!" And then I was like, "Firestarter, that's the one they're doing." Weird. Weird choice. Very, very weird choice. But it's the one they chose. But that's where Trucks goes. And now we're to Dolan's Cadillac. And this is a weird one. I remember I never heard this film when it came out. I think it came out like when did this year I think this came out literally prime Stephen King for me. Hold on, we're gonna find out. Yeah, '09. There's no reason I should have. There's no reason I shouldn't have been at Walmart at midnight picking this DVD up when I was like a super DVD collector. But I came around this one probably around 2015, I would say. Maybe I'm gonna hold on. 2009. I gotta read. 2009. Dolan's Cadillac. Christian Slater. Yeah, yeah. I thought it was 2009. It was like one that was like on the shelf. Maybe it did. Oh, release date. Yeah. Okay. Not crazy. Oh, nine. All right. So yeah. Yeah, I probably came around this around 2015 or something. I just went like a Christian Slater. What's the other dill hole? Dylan from 90210. He's not a dill hole. I mean, Dylan something Perry, right? Either way, I was just watching like shit like that. I was watching people like that movies, and I came across this. I was watching watching a Christian Slater movie. It was like Christian Slater, Stephen King, what? And I was like 2009, what? And I read the plot, and I was like, this sounds nothing like a Stephen King movie. And then it was is about Could Live Without As Possible. Like, this is an average ass movie, and it's below like when I say average. Okay, we're gonna say little above average, right? Little above average, because these are a little above average. Could Live Without, like this movie, man, it was fine. I feel like anybody could have wrote this. I mean, but when you get a Stephen King short story, man, he's written so many that some of them are like, yeah, I mean, yeah, he could have written this on a Sunday, you know. He was done in 3 hours. It's like a revenge. You've seen it 1,000 times. It could be worse. It's fun to see Christian Slater in a villain role. There's good things about it. You don't need to seek it out. that's about all I can say, right? Dolores Claiborne. Now, see this one. I need to return to Dolores. Hold on, we're returning to this one, and the reason I need to return to this movie is because I saw Misery. We were on a travel baseball road trip. I had my portable DVD player. We stopped at a Walmart. Someone had a piss or something. I always checked the $5 bins. Misery was in the $5 bin. I knew it was a deal because I saw it at Best Buy, like not even like a week before that for like $14. So I was like, fuck yeah. Grab Misery. Never seen it before. Watch this movie and oh my god. So good. Misery is so good. I watch it to this day. And then you watch a movie. I started doing a little research. Started bop 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 bop. Oh, Kathy Bates is in another Stephen King movie. One I've never heard of or read the book yet. Dolores Claiborne. So I go to that, and as you can say, Misery, classic. I love Misery. Love everything about Misery. Kathy Bates' performance, amazing. James Caan, amazing. The suspense, how Kathy Bates can flip on a dime every second of it. I want more. So I said the only way that you could remake Misery and make it feel new is if you made it a mini-series and you gave us just hours and hours of this shit, you know? You gave it like, you'd have to six to 8 episodes. Just one season, Misery, boom, you know? That's the only way you can redo Misery. Now, Dolores Claiborne, I followed it up with that. I've not watched it since. I don't even remember it, to be honest. It is about as could live without as could possibly be. I am going to rewatch it. It could possibly get moved. I doubt it. It was not my type of story. It was boring, kind of. Um, so we'll see where it is. And now, this is the movie right here. I'm covering it up. I love that I cover up the spots so you can't really see what's next that I'm about to do. This is the movie right here that why when I first said there will be movies you disagree with me on is this one. This one, the book's pretty good. I like the book. The book's decent. It's whatever. People don't even really love the book. Some people love the book. I mean, there's lovers of everything, right? But this movie, bro, this movie's pretty hated. But no, this movie is the first hour and 20 minutes of this movie is some of the best. This shit this is top tier to me. And this is the toppest of tiers. I would put it in classic. Dreamcatcher. We're talking about Dreamcatcher, everyone. I would put it in classic. Most people would probably put this in poo-poo or down at the bottom of the list. I love this movie. I love the cast. Jason Lee, Timothy Olyphant, Thomas Jane, Donnie Wahlberg, Tom Sizemore, Morgan Freeman. The freaking cast is A-list after A-list. And when the friends are just hanging out in the cabin or being attacked a little bit in the cabin, before it really gets into an army movie, it flips. It kind of turns into like Independence Day all of a sudden. That's a little jarring, but it's a blast. And then as a kid, I never read this book, but it was when I was just getting into Stephen King. The book was probably just out. I was reading things like It and stuff because that's like where I first jumped to. So I didn't get to Dreamcatcher, but I went and saw this opening night, and I was so excited, and I loved the entire thing about this. And not knowing what was happening going into, this was one of the biggest twists, like a movie flip, since From Dusk Till Dawn. You know how like From Dusk Till Dawn is a Tarantino movie. If you've never seen a trailer, and like I never did as a kid, I just watched it. I was just watching this movie. I didn't know what the movie was. I was like, hey, we got this movie called From Dusk Till Dawn. Hey, that's all I knew. So it starts off like a Tarantino movie, and then all of a sudden it's a vampire movie. If you didn't know it was a vampire movie going in, you would be completely shocked when it turns into a vampire movie. And that is what happened with Dreamcatcher when it turned into an alien movie. I didn't know what was gonna. I didn't really know what the hell was gonna happen because it was about an hour in, and I'm like, this is just a great movie, like on the lines of Stand By Me. So I wasn't even sure if this was gonna even get all that scary. But I was in. I didn't care. So when it did flip to an alien movie, I was like, whoa, that was insane. So to me, Dreamcatcher is classic. You know what? I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. This is my tier list, baby. And it's the top of the classic. It's too good. I don't care what you say. I don't care. The first hour and 10 minutes is some of the best film ever. It's some of just the best movie ever. I love it. I love it. Can't convince me otherwise either. The original Firestarter, average, it's not even a little above average. Hold on. We're making a new spot. Oh, this is actually perfect, I think, right? Oh, hold on. This is actually brilliant. At a row below. Oh. There we go. And this is going to be just batting 500. Well, that's not average. Hitting par. How about I just say fucking par? No, let's just say average. 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 We'll keep it easy. It's an average movie. And you know what? I'm going to move Big Driver to average. Which is what Firestarter is, in my opinion. Drew Barrymore as a kid. This is a great kid performance. It was ahead of the game at the time because Stephen King. It was a first of all, no one was doing superhero movies at the time that this was made. and it is Firestarter is very much a superhero movie. It's very much X-Men or Wolverine. How they did experiments on them. They've like, kind of made them what they are, and like they're powerful. It's very much Wolverine and Stryker. So it was ahead of the time. So at the time that this movie was made, right, there was a super need for this type of movie because it just wasn't being made. So that's different. Now, that's why I hate this fucking remake so much. Because at a time that every movie is a superhero movie, which I love superhero movies, do not get me wrong. But this Firestarter remake down here is the most unnecessary movie ever. Because everything is a fucking superhero movie now. But this movie, now, if I would have did this tier list 15 years ago, I think I would put this a little above average. But for now, with everything going on, the Drew Barrymore's performance as a kid, because getting a kid to perform like that is hard to do. That's all good and dandy. I'm going to change the color of this to green. Makes it look better. So yeah. This tier list is looking good. How it's like tearing out. The only one you can question Desperation Dreamcatcher all you want. I don't care. But how this bad boy is looking, it just looks pretty. Looking pretty. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Gerald's Game. See, now this is up there with that. These damn. It was 1922. Gerald's Game. Into the Grass. It was Mr. Hannigan's Phone came out like 3 years later, but Mr. Hannigan's phone's not on here. If anyone really cares, that and Boogeyman because they're so new. So we will rank those. Mr. Hannigan's Phone. Gotta write it down so I don't forget. Okay. Man, these were all average. Gerald's Game might have been the best of the bunch, right? But where I would revisit Into the Tall Grass because it was kind of goofy and wacky at times. Maybe where I would revisit that one. I don't know if I would revisit Gerald's Game. And if I did revisit Gerald's Game, it would be we're still a couple years away from that, right? And that's kind of how I'm feeling about that. So, I guess since we have this new average slot, that's where we're gonna slide Gerald's Game in that average slot. I think he just goes right there. And that list is just looking as sexy. With Dreamcatcher right now. Yeah, some people are like, this fuck. I bet you some people are like, what the fuck is this? Because Dreamcatcher right now, in my opinion, is the best Stephen King movie. If Carrie in second, Misery in third, but I had that Dreamcatcher at number one, baby. Holy shit, that's funny. Christine, this is a good list. Oh boy. And so far at the bottom, Firestarter remake. Who? Because Trucks at least will make you laugh, right? Trucks is at least so bad. I remember, like, it couldn't be funny. All right. Here we go. Let's continue this. Graveyard Shift. Man. Graveyard Shift. See, I feel like because Graveyard Shift was 100% with the Dead Zone. I watched those the same night. I know for a fact I did. So it's like, I have to revisit this, right? I'm going to revisit this. But from what I remember, I'm trying to think what else was that night. Night Flyer might have finished that night. Those are just like three. But I've had so many damn Stephen King nights that could have just been a good night that I had were those three. But the Dead Zone I actually never returned to. So the Dead Zone is where I can kind of pinpoint. So Night Flyer, actually, yes. I think Night Flyer ended that night, which I really enjoyed Night Flyer. We'll get to that when I get to it. I keep spoiling a little bit. So Graveyard Shift was like But Graveyard, I watched him actually Dead Zone, Graveyard Shift, Night Flyer, because Night Flyer was the new one when it came out, so it was like that was the main event where that was the juicy one. But so it's like I watched them in a decent order. I'm giving Graveyard Shift a B because it's a little above average, and I feel like hold on, I didn't. I want this second though. Yeah, that's it right there. Boom. That's good. As you can see, Sheboygan. I like it. Okay. Oh God. Jesus. I mean, this is just an absolute classic. It's the number one movie so far on the list. It's just. It's like. It's a movie like this, right? It's one like this. I don't know what we name it. But it's roads like this. Maybe we just go next level classic. Right? Right? Because let's be real. The Green Mile is a whole different tier than Dreamcatcher carried Misery. Maybe not Misery though. I've been downplaying how good Misery is. Right? I think I'm gonna boop. Misery goes to next level class. We got next level classic. Classic. You know, Carrie's a classic. Yeah. Yeah. You know, Dreamcatcher is a classic, you know, like everyone says. Next level classic. Because there's another one that comes to mind that's got to go in this next level classic that I'm sure a lot of people would put as the best. But not this guy. I know you guys are thinking it's the best. The cream of the crop. The top dog. It's not what you think it is. I promise. It's not. Get to it. Hearts in Atlantis. I have tried to watch this movie 617 times and I've fallen asleep 619 times. I have fallen asleep more times than I have tried to watch it because I have taken multiple naps during some watches. Yeah, I've tried. I could. There's the definition of could live without. Actually, I don't know if I could live without it because it actually has been the reasoning I feel of some of the best naps of my life. Into the Tall Grass. This one, I'm gonna give this one an average because I'm going to return to this one. I think I may have already returned to it. This one I can remember more than Gerald's Game and 1922, which I can barely remember at all. This one I can remember a little more. So I may have returned to do it, but I definitely plan on returning to it again. So if I haven't returned to it, I mean, I could be going for a third watch already. So I'm going to give it an average. Now, I guess the surprise and the wait is over. We have made it to the film that I consider the bestest, most bestest, the greatest, most greatest, the tippity top of the Stephen King ladder. The guy who created my nightmares it gave me my first literal memory of a nightmare. I still almost had this nightmare. It was definitely a reoccurring one as a child, and I have had it as an adult, less, but have had it. The original Tim Curry as Pennywise. It does not get scarier. I'm sorry, Bill. You did amazing, but it's in my opinion probably the scariest movie of all time. This movie scared the shit out of me as a child. I had literal nightmares of it. I would have panic. I would be scared to watch it, but I would always just want to watch it. You know what's kind of a hold on. Hey, there we go. Look at that. Now you can see the list. Now I gotta point this way. The list. I gotta figure out the new point. The list. Now you can see the list. Now you can see the list. My hand doesn't really fit. The list. Over here. And that's just better. I don't have to like dodge out of the way. You can see what the fuck I'm pointing at now. And I'm sorry that it took me 50 minutes to 60 minutes to fucking do it, but we did it. And now it looks like I'm looking at the list. I'm like, ooh, yeah, checking that list twice, baby. Okay. Either way, the best. Curry's performance, part one of this whole thing. Part two gets a little goofy. We all know about the fucking spider and what all happens with that. And part two gets goofy. But part one, with Jonathan Brandis, Seth Green, all of the others. But literally, every story of those, the kid in the shower when he comes out of it, the Bev's blood balloon, Richie's werewolf's a little weak, Ben when he sees his dad. I mean, just all of them had such a good situation with Pennywise, and it's scary. It is a scary movie, and Tim Curry has this thing where he can look like he's your friend, and then just like boom, like that, he looks like he's gonna fucking murder you, and it's absolutely terrifying, and it's so good. So, number one, cream of the crop. Now the remakes. Whew. The remakes. How do we? I'm glad they gave us two of them. There's a couple of the list I saw put them together as if they're one, and as if they are even close to as good as each other, because they're not. Because I'm gonna say part one is amazing. Part one is a classic. Put it in the classic. Swoosh. Part one is amazing. And it's so good. And it is because part one, like in the first part of the book and everything, like all of that is such perfect writing. It's such a perfect story. The kids, the sewer, the clown, it all just makes perfect sense. It just fits so well. And then it's probably because I'm sure some cocaine was involved. Alcoholism was definitely involved. And just shit like that where King just keeps fucking going and going and going and going and going and turns to complete and utter nonsense. And then you get shit like the Tommy knockers, which is like, what the fuck is going on here? Now, me as a kid in the 90s, I kind of liked the Tommy knockers because it's my first stint into King. It was one of the first things I read, and it was also like kind of one of the first things I remember watching too. So it's like shit like that sticks with me, and I like it more than I probably should. But the Tommy knockers now, reading it as an adult, is literally just a cocaine fueled just rant. It's just ranting, cocaine rant, and I'm sure it had some of that. And it turns into nonsense as well at times, and it's he kind of condone, like he's not fully off the rails yet, so it's kind of condensed nonsense that can make sense. That makes sense. But either fucking way, I'm gonna put chapter 1 as the classic. Now chapter 2, I've recently just rewatched them back to back, and man, dude, just going through one, I'm just like, bah, 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 pumped, ready. Number two, I'm excited, and then dude, it just gets to a point in two where I'm just like, I'm fuck it, I'm done. Okay, I'm done. I can't do anymore. It's over, and I cut it, and there's probably like 40 minutes left, right? And like, it's just like normally you just like finish it, but I can't. So I had to do it the next day, and then you get 40 minutes, and it kind of feels unfulfilled. So it's like two unfulfilling watches. I was unfulfilled because I didn't just watch the whole story in one sitting, and then I'm unfulfilled because when I came back, I got 40 minutes and I want a little more. Maybe that's where Welcome to Derry will come into play. I can fix that, but I'm gonna give it B. I think It Chapter 2 is B tier. I think the first scene is so creepy with the fair and the guy getting thrown over the bridge and the whole tone and everything about that. I think that is probably the height, and then him like coming out of the water and seeing him, and then all the balloons come. That's the height of the movie, in my opinion. And some Bill Hader is alright. So that's where I'm on that. Okay, next. We're done with it. The Langoliers. The Langoliers. Oh, boy. How do I rate this? Now, first off, if you can't see this too well, go Google the Langoliers movie, TV show, or TV series, whatever it comes up as, and just look at the cover. The cover is a little suspect. And you'll know what I mean when you go Google it. So Google the Langoliers and see what comes up. But this is an interesting miniseries because the dialogue's awful. A lot of the acting is awful. Just super campy. So it's not terrible awful. Like, I enjoy campy shit. So this can be fun for me, and it was fun for me. Now this is like a 4-hour miniseries. And these were, like I said, I got all these around the same time as the Golden Years, Tommy Knockers. Golden Years isn't on here. I just realized that, huh? Yeah. So there's Golden Years, Tommy Knockers, the Langoliers, and Storm of the Century. I knew I was missing one earlier when I was talking about them. So I got like all of those pretty much like within like a month, 2 month span, really. But the Langoliers, I really enjoyed. I had no idea what it was about. None of them, besides the Tommy Knockers, because I read that, did I have any idea what we're about. Like, they were just they were Stephen King stuff. I haven't seen it because very rarely did the movie stores have those TV miniseries. Like, some of them did, but like a lot of the places that I went to didn't. Like, later, like Blockbusters and stuff did. But some of like a lot of my hometown ones, they didn't get like those because a lot of them are 2-box sets too, and for some reason a movie store just could not a 2-box set, can't figure that out. And then sometimes they would charge you double for and they would charge you double for one movie. I would lose my fucking mind. How are you gonna charge a movie because of your technical limitations? It's not my fault. You couldn't fit your whole movie on tape. And now you can charge 2 people at once, so shit's floating in and out. But it never works like that. It's not how shit works. Like, it was such a stupid method. I hated it. The two tape charge 2 people. That should have never been a thing. Your limitations was not our fault. Either way, the Langoliers, there's fun to be had. I'm gonna put it in a little above average because holy shit, your first time watching this isn't memorable. You have no clue what's going on. You don't know where it's going. You don't know what's happening. And you may finish it and have no clue what just happened, where it's going, or who it happened to. But it will be memorable, and you will have had laughs, and it will be, you will have had a good time. I'm going to give the Langoliers a little above average. Lizzie's story, I'm not a big fan of the book. I'm not a big fan of this. It's not poo-poo, because I can see why he did, like, this This whole thing is just not. I'm not the demographic of this, right? This isn't for me. I could live without. That doesn't mean you could live without. You may love this. This shit may have been your jam. And I get that. But that shit was not my jam. That was grape jelly. I like strawberry jelly. Or jam. Strawberry jam. I like jam. The Lawnmower Man. This shit is fucking poo poo. Let's be real. This is like the poo poo. This is poo poo. But the only reason it's not the Firestarter remake level of bad is because this shit is poo poo, but you definitely need to see it once. You need to go watch Lawnmower Man once because that shit is goofy. And if you watched it in like 1997, like, bro, we didn't know what technology was. We didn't know where it was going. We didn't know, like, the AI, like, not AI, like, the VR and shit looked terrible. The headsets and shit was stupid. Like, maybe, like, the inside of the computer does look like that. Like, we didn't know shit about shit. So, technology was different then. Like, Johnny Mnemonic or whatever the fuck that was. It was a different time. So, I will say, Lawnmower Man is poo-poo. You should watch Lawnmower Man is the only one down here of these 5 that I would say you should, so I'm going to put it at the top of the poo-poo list. You should watch it. At least once. If you've seen it, you don't need to go see it again. I understand that. But you should watch Lawnmower Man once. The Mangler. This is also poo-poo. I'm going to put it second on the poo-poo list because at least Robert Englund is in it. Which in the that's Lawnmower Man 2. You don't even get Jeff Fahey on this. Jeff Fahey is in Lawnmower Man 2. Also just as crazy. I also say go watch Lawnmower Man 2. You get some Jeff Fahey. But back to The Mangler. Robert Englund's in it. So you get Robert Englund. This shit, I guess, came out, I don't know, like in like 94 or something. I thought this was a sci-fi movie that came out in the early 2000s. When I got it, I literally thought it was a sci-fi movie. I have no idea why. I was like, oh, this is a sci-fi movie. I was like, oh, I didn't know sci-fi did a Stephen King movie. This was always a sci-fi movie from the early 2000s. So then it was always a little underwhelming. And then I saw when it came out and I like put it all together. I was like, I don't understand what the fuck this is. This is a killer dryer, washer, or whatever. It's The Mangler. Watch it at your discretion. And now we have one of the most interesting movies on the list. The only one that Stephen King directed himself. He also wrote it. Stars Emilio Estevez. Coach Bombay for the Mighty Ducks. Maximum Overdrive. Now this movie is wild. This dude would show up late to set, be fucking plastered. He drank all of his booze one night and it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. They stopped selling that booze so no one was selling booze. So he was literally drinking mouthwash. He was having the hotel bring them their mouthwash until they wouldn't bring them mouthwash anymore. So he was getting hammered on mouthwash. Just 4-day cocaine benders without showing up to set. Made a fucking banger of a movie. Absolute classic. It is top tier. I'm not going to put it classic because I can't put it over Christine, Children of the Corn and those, right? I can't put it over Dr. Sleep, though. Maximum Overdrive is like 86 minutes of non-stop badassness. The soundtrack goes. It's just they got the Green Goblin on the semi. The movie is just fucking fun. Like, if you don't see what is like going on here, like obviously it's just a cocaine like fueled madness. But if you can't have fun with this movie, then you can't have fun. And like then these type of movies like aren't for you. Obviously, go watch The Green Mile, watch Misery. Like Maximum Overdrive is an absolute blast and just it's so much fun. So much fun. Mercy. Now, I watched this movie. It was with Carl from The Walking Dead. Not the guy that did it, the kid, Carl. I remember going into it. I was like, oh, this is that. I came across it. You know, you get on IMDb. Like, hey, the kid Carl's in it. We rented it, whatever. Might have been online, watched it on Amazon. whatever the fuck it was. And then it comes up, oh, it's based on a Stephen King thing. So then my interest really peaks up. Like, oh, we got Stephen King involved, huh? And I can tell you what, I don't remember anything about this damn movie. I don't remember anything about this. I remember thinking, like, the only thing I remember about this is after thinking, that may have been the most average movie I've ever seen. It's the most averageness of average. It's Kirk Cousins. It's the Kirk Cousins of movies. It's literally just average. Yeah. Could live without. I could live without it. It didn't offend me. I didn't hate it. It's fine. It's fine. All right, now we got two myths because there's a TV show and then there's the movie. Now, I'm going to go with this one is the movie, even though I think it's actually the thing for the TV show. But I like this poster better. So this is the movie. And this shit is classic. The ending to the movie is one of the greatest things I have ever witnessed. I'm just shocked. Silent, full theater, just, oh my God. Just heartbreaking, heart-wrenching. You will never forget it when you see it. If you see it, you'll never forget it. It's fucking insane. It is amazing. Frank Darabont, who I also did Shawshank. Did he do The Green Mile? He might have done another one too. He is amazing at adapting Stephen King. He gets it. He gives the emotion. If you have not seen The Mist, go freaking watch The Mist. The Mist is so good. And the only reason I give it classic is because it can feel a little preachy. Not preachy. Like, I don't know. I guess preachy against, I don't know. It's not you get a little long. Like, they spend long at their time at things. I don't know. I almost want to put it next level classic, right? I do fucking love The Mist. I'm gonna leave it a classic. It could be next level classic. I think I love when people are stranded somewhere. So just being stranded in the whole grocery store just works for me. That's why Dawn of the Dead is literally my second favorite movie of all time. TV show. We're moving on to TV show. I could move that. This is I don't know what the fuck this is the poster for, but we're gonna say this is the poster for the TV show. And the TV show, I'm gonna give it a little above average, right? Yeah. I'm gonna say it's before. I'm gonna do it before the Langolier. The TV show was good. It got canceled quickly, so like, I mean, I can't like, it's good. It was definitely above average. I'm not gonna say I could live without it because I wished it would have went longer, but here we are. It didn't go longer. Mr. Mercedes. This was pretty good. I'm not a fan of the whole book thing when he did it. I think there's multiple books with this character, like this whole retired cop solving murder dude, and that's just like every fucking TV show and movie is that. Like, I don't need Stephen King doing it too. Like, anything else, please. But the show was actually pretty good. It's better to watch than read, I guess. But I'm gonna give this an average because I'm never going back. I'm fine where it ended. I don't need more. It's not above average. I'm gonna put this at the bottom of that because I think Into the Tall Grass was more interesting. Not better, but more interesting. Needful Things. Now, I'm not sure if there was a TV show. Was there a TV show? I don't know if there was, but there was a movie, a fucking good movie with Ed Harris, I believe. Good movie. I've definitely rented this one, or I bought this one with Salem's Lot and Riding the Bullet, I believe. I might have bought it with Riding the Bullet, but I might have rented it with Salem's Lot. But Salem's Lot definitely was involved with my first watching of Needful Things. I liked Needful Things. I need to rewatch Needful Things. Needful Things has already been on my watch list. I don't need to write that one down because it's already been on my watch list, rewatch list. It's kind of the reason where I was like, I'm going to do a rankings of Stephen King novels because I was thinking about rewatching Needful Things, which is already part of it. So that started the whole mind thing. So Needful Things is definitely a little above average, but that could be higher. Come back when I rewatch that. There's a few of these I'm going to rewatch real soon. Like probably today. Night Flyer. Like I said, this was the main event. This was the juiciest one that I got. It was the most for me at the time because I rented some older ones. I said it was Graveyard Shift and Christine, I think. No, it was worse. It was worse because it was the worst of them. Was it the Dolores Claiborne? So now I've lost it. I had the whole memory. It's funny when I was like when you're going talking about it, you can get a memory going. But either way, Night Flyer. That was my juicy guy. I remember I was the main event. It was definitely the same night as Graveyard Shift. But this guy, I'll give it a B. Boom. Put him third on the B. It Chapter 2 is definitely higher than. I give it Chapter 2 second still. I mean, I still liked it Chapter 2. Still liked it Chapter 2. Don't get me wrong. That's where we're going to go. We're going to go Night Flyers at B. I don't remember. I'm going to definitely 110% rewatch Night Flyer tonight. Even though I don't rewatch these other Stephen King things tonight. Night Flyers getting rewatched. Because I remember I freaking loved this movie. I remember I liked it. I bought it on DVD. I watched it again. I liked it. I do remember a lot of shit being black and white towards the end. And that was an odd choice. And I'm not sure why. I don't know if they... I remember there was blood involved. So I'm not sure if it was a way to get around the censors or something. But I do remember black and white being involved. And I remember not loving that. I drink out of 2 liter. I forgot my cup. I feel like a savage, but in the name of filming, right? In the name of content. Alright. Night Scares and Dreamscapes. They have this one, but they don't have Kingdom Hospital on here, right? Which is weird to me, because I think Kingdom Hospital is better than this. Night Scares and Dreamscapes it's average. It's about as average as like it goes. It's average. There's nothing I can even really say about it. The Outsider. This was pretty good. I thought this was pretty good. This was a perfect miniseries. Like, this is how they need to redo Misery. I think it was like 6 to 8 episodes. I don't remember exactly. This one was good. This is better, I feel, as a TV show like this than a book. If it even was a book, I'm not sure. It could have been its original idea. I'm sure it was a novel, not a... I didn't read this one if it was. But... this is on the same line as Mr. Mercedes. I think Mr. Mercedes is a little better. But if I give Mr. Mercedes average, I have to give this average. But me giving those average, I feel a little bad because maybe they are a little above, but they're not my cup of tea. Like, you understand, this is my tier list. It's not for me. It's for me. It's not for you. It's for me. It's for me. If you disagree, tell me about it, and we can chat. We can talk about it. Don't yell at me though. The original Pet Sematary we're starting with. I'm not going to this fucking guy. We're there. I can talk about it. This fucking thing. This guy right here, though. See, this is the one. This is what I'm thinking. Because, boy, oh boy, if I've watched any movie as much as I've watched it, Leprechaun or Child's Play 2, it is Pet Sematary. It is Pet Sematary. I fucking love this movie. Zelda is 100% the most terrifying little, like, scene. Her whole part in this movie, played by a guy, like a contortionist guy, I think, is the scariest shit. It used to haunt me. I couldn't watch it. I used to either fast forward it, I would leave the room, I would have to leave for like 5 minutes to make sure I missed it. And then sometimes that scene at the end where she comes back would get me. The Zelda thing character, absolutely fucking terrifying. I'm gonna put it and Pet Cemetery on the same level. And then you're thinking, holy shit, I thought if anything it'd be Shawshank up there with it. No. I told you it's not what you thought. So stop thinking that you know me. Because you don't. That's why we're doing these tier lists. Like, you go look at my office one. Some of those you'll be like, damn, for real? Yes. Except for the Pam one. I did that so people didn't yell at me. She is a bottom tier character, but we put her, I think, at A. Alright, back to this. This piece of hunk of shit. Poo poo. Poo. It's boring. I hated this. What was this? What was this? Casting. Amazing. I was so excited for this movie. And then, what was it? Like 2 weeks before the movie, they come out with a new trailer. And they show that the girl, they did the flipperoo. They did a twist that would have 100% blown my mind in the theaters. And then they show it in the fucking trailer. Well, there goes that. And then the fucking, I don't know what this thing turned into. Happy living zombie family. I know, it's fucking goofy. It's stupid. It sucks. I could live without it, but it's worse than could live without it. It's fucking poo-poo. But I have returned, so I can't put it down here with this shit. I'll never watch Firestarter again. But the sad thing is I probably will, and I already kind of want to, rewatch Pet Sematary, the remake, and I don't fucking know why. I'm going to put myself through it. I can see it, and my blood pressure is rising. Quicksilver Highway. This damn thing. I never heard of this. I've gone through IMDb's. I've read Stephen King movie forums, lists, blah, 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 this and that. And I never heard or seen anything about this movie. I'm at a truck stop on a family vacation, and there's a used DVD lot at this truck stop. Why? Do you sell the used DVDs to the truck stop? Is there some big conglomerate corporation that is also a DVD sale that owns this gas station and they ship them out to different truck stops around? Where do used DVDs at a truck stop come from? I've always wondered this. But either way, I come across this and I see from Clive Barker and Stephen King. And I'm like, what in the flying fuck is this? And the excitement rises because we're on a family trip. So you know the portable DVD player is fully charged, already being used. So I'm ready to fire this bad boy up. And I could live without this. To the extent of... Man, these can't live without really aren't that great, huh? Carrie and Quicksilver Highway are the only ones that I would probably rewatch and probably have rewatched. And I can live without it. And I was way too excited. I'm like, oh man, anytime Stephen King does one of these creep shows, bro, whoa. Where are the creep shows? Creep shows? Creep show. I'm gonna tell you guys right now. Creep show, classic. No. Creep show, top tier. Creep show 2, classic. That's right, everyone out there. Creep show 2 is better than Creep show. The Raft is the best short story of all the Creep shows. None of them beat The Raft. The Raft is the best. And then you got the wooded Native American one. So good. Thanks for the ride, ladies. Kind of weak. But The Raft's too good. So those are my Creep Show ratings. Creep Show, top tier. Creep Show 2, actually, both Creep Shows classic. Creep Show 2 would be in front. Both Creep Shows are in the classic tier. Yeah, for sure. Riding the Bullet. Oh, man. Riding the Bullet, man. Now, this one I got this around the time. Let's see how good the memory is. I feel like I bought this around the time of 8 Mile and Swim Fan. 8 Mile '02. Swim Fan '02. I know for a fact I got 8 Mile and Swim Fan together. Now let's see. Riding the Bull was '04, so I did not get it. I did not get it with that. I must have got it with a different water movie? I don't know. But Riding the Bullet. I do remember, I picked this up, dude. I remember, like, buying this. And I remember, like, being upset because it was, like, $17. It was, like, fully fucking priced. It wasn't on sale. Because back then, usually when DVDs released the first week, they'd be, like, on sale, too. So you get them for, like, $14.99. And I remember this being, like, fully priced. I think I got it from, like, Kmart or something. I was like, it was, like, the only place that fucking had it. And I wasn't pissed. I was kind of pissed after I bought it. I was kind of pissed getting it because, I mean, $17 is a lot in high school. Especially when it's like, I gotta go see a fucking movie, man. You're ripping me off this $17. But I revisited it, and it's okay. It's exactly how you think a movie about this would go, which is a kid picks up a random hitchhiker crossing America in the '70s, and it's pretty much like, but it goes a little weird, and it seems to go a little long because it doesn't go exactly how you expect it to go, and the turns that it makes, I think it makes for the wrong reasons, and that's why I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it an average. Hold up. All right, I'm gonna be clear because I feel like this Carrie is definitely an average movie. Like some these ones, I feel like I would watch over these averages. But I could live without it because it was unnecessary. I probably said that while making it, but just looking at it, I was like, this is kind of goofy. So I want to make that clear. And yeah, I could definitely live without that. All right, so that's all fine. Yeah, Silver Riding the Bullet, average. Probably the best of the averages, to be honest. Like, except for these. These two are really good. Like I said, they're just not my cup of tea. Rose Red. Rose Red. Rose Red was a lot of fun. It was I believe it was USA. I don't really remember. I do know that I got this around the time of Storm of the Century. I do know that. And they're both super long, but I did watch Storm of the Century first. But Rose Red was good. When you get into the telekinesis and stuff, Stephen King gets into that a lot with the whole Shining verse, which is kind of. I'm not sure if Rose Red's part of that whole situation. It might be, now that I think about it. But I'm not a huge fan of all that. But this with the ghost story and everything was not the best way, because The Shining's the best way. But it was a good way of being told. I'm gonna give Rose Red is a solid B, and because of like the material that it is, for that to be a B that high on my list, that's pretty good. Like I said, Stephen, there's just things he does well, and it's really just it's all he'll make me things I don't care about make it kind of interesting. So there's that. The Running Man. Like, you don't put like the Running Man. This Running Man is based on Stephen King material as much as A Pet Sematary 2 is, and that's honest to God truth. The Running Man is good. It's in my opinion. I'm gonna give it a B. Running Man is it's a good action movie. It's this whole Schwarzenegger film. Like it's a whole different ballpark. It's different than even kind of what Stephen King had going on. And first of all, it's Richard Bachman too. It's a whole like as we get into that, thinner is Richard Bachman as well. I give it actually I'm gonna give this a little above average because I don't love it that much. He definitely has better things. Salem's Lot. Now the first one, man, I'm gonna give it top tier. Man, that's tough. But I love the Rob Lowe one as well. The Rob Lowe one is also good. See, Salem's Lot is a classic. It's like you almost can't talk about vampire movies or stuff without bringing up Salem's Lot. It is a little slow. It's a little boring for today's standard. And I do think that the remake is an amazing update and adaptation. And I also think, in my opinion, it might be a little better. On this tier list, I'm going to leave Salem's Lot in the classic because classic is above the top tier. But as top tier is a good list. This top tier is a good night. A good few nights. This top tier is almost like where I'm like, I might be going to get my bang for my buck if I'm looking for good Stephen King. Because it's kind of all over the place. With Children of the Corn that could be a classic. And then Maximum Overdrive where you're like, what? You know what I'm saying? And then you get the remake to Salem's Lot. And then you're like, Christine. So it's like, that might be the most, this top tier might be the most Stephen King tier we got when you don't know what you're going to get. Like, you wouldn't know what you're going to get when you get one of his books. So, keep that in mind. Secret Window. This movie was like the biggest deal in 2004. Let's see how correct I am on the year. I'm going to say 2004. I love to play this game. I love to play a Guess the Year game. So, 2004. Damn, I'm good. So, this movie was like the biggest deal in 2004. And it's fine, right? It was Johnny Depp at the height of Johnny Depp. I just felt like I kind of knew where it was. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't say I knew the ending. I knew the ending was going to be something, how the ending was. It's like, I don't know. The Sixth Sense has been out. The Village is probably out around this time. Unbreakable. So Shyamalan's been Shyamalaming. And they're like, all right, Stephen King, do your M. Night Shyamalan impersonation. Because this feels like an M. Night movie with Stephen King's name on it. Right? Secret Window feels like an M. Night movie. And it's good. This is definitely a B. It's a B tier. I mean, don't get me wrong. I just feel like people ate that movie up. And I was like, and I don't, like, and that's like where I was like, I could talk people into, like, renting a Stephen King movie on like a movie night. Like, he's the guy that did Secret Window. And I'm like, yeah, you know, like shit like that. That's how it would be. And now this is where I thought when everyone saw the best, and I was like, well, probably one movie might go in the best. This is the one everyone was thinking, I'm sure. And this is a next level classic to me. This movie's great. Fucking, it's Shawshank Redemption. And like most people, this could be some people's greatest movie of all time, right? That and The Green Mile. It is crazy what Stephen King can do when he's not doing horror and he does go serious. It's The Green Mile. It's Misery. It's Shawshank Redemption. Like, it is top of the line. And that's where I put these at next level classic, because these are like next level classics. They are. But the best, It and Pet Sematary, I think this is the best of Stephen King if you want Stephen King. If you want Stephen King, it does not get better than It and Pet Sematary. That is the most Stephen King of Stephen King you can get. And that is why I tiered it the way I tiered it. The Shining. It's a next level classic. This movie, this is some people's like favorite horror film, blah, this, that. They love this, the I can't think of the word, but you know, the meaning behind every shot. There's a fucking documentary about all the conspiracies, the blah blah. Stanley Kubrick, this, the jerk off to that. It's the most amazing this. They ruined Shelley Duvall's life. That it's a good movie. It's fun. It's scary. It's creepy. There's good parts. Some of it's fucking weird. Some of it's confusing. Like a lot of the whole like conspiracy things have made the movie even more confusing to where I don't even know if the movie was even all that confusing to begin with, and it now has been made more confusing. Still a good movie. Definitely a next level classic. Definitely like one if you're a cinephile, you got to get into it and love. It's honestly to God, it's not one of my favorites. I'm going to the top tier and B list. Some of these B-lister ones. Like, shit, I might be going to some of these little above average ones before I go back to The Shining. That's just me. I just know I can't rank The Langoliers over The Shining, and anyone take my tier list serious at all. The Shining remake. I mean, I could definitely live without this. It's also kind of poop, but it's not poo poo. It's more like this. You know what? The more I think about this, we're going a little above average. It is more like The Shining. The Shining. It's not bad. I've watched it once or twice. I mean, it's not super Shining. Let's be real. Like, people are like, this one's more like the book, and Stephen King likes this one more. He didn't even like Stanley Kubrick. It's like, okay, who gives a shit? The Shining's a better movie. Like, okay. But a lot of this shit is nothing to do with Stephen King's original fucking idea. They're just like, yo, we kind of want your name on this. Yo, Stephen King's this. This has nothing to do with it. So, Stephen King, blah, 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 blah. And, like, Stephen King also loved a lot of these. And was like, I give this the Stephen King stamp of approval. In which they would fucking suck. The Stephen King stamp of approval is the check big enough for a couple 8-balls. Like, let's be real. Like, so let's just relax on, like, all that. Because that doesn't really have much behind it. It's a little above average. The Shining remake, I feel, isn't bad. Do I think it's as good as Stanley Kubrick's? No. Is it a better adaptation? Maybe. It's still not as good. A lot of these aren't really adaptions. Sometimes they come back. A little above average. I would give the sequel a little above average. And I think I would give the third one average. They're all decent movies. I enjoy these. They're fun. I think it's what's funny is Children of the Corn is top tier. But if you were to average it out with its sequels, I think sometimes they come back might be a better franchise overall. And that's the honest God truth. I think sometimes we come back might be a better overall franchise than Children of the Corn. I don't know if there is another good Children of the Corn movie. I might have to go through the whole series. Because the series kind of overall just sucks. Like, let's be real. Children of the Corn's kind of booty. The Stand, the original. This is top tier. For sure. I'm going to go top of the top tier. The original Stand miniseries is so good. Loved it. Such a good time. Return to it was so... I love the Stand the book. And you know what? Let's be real. The next Stand was also good. I'm going to put it in... B tier because it sputtered out to me. But I don't know if it sputtered out to me. The timing of the Stand, it kind of sucked. Because it was pandemic time in real life, right? So, I was a bit pandemicked out, right? I didn't want much more pandemic in my life. So, I might have to return to it, so it could be higher. But I remember I liked it a lot. But at the time, I was just like, okay, I get it. Enough. And then, whoo, baby. Stand By Me. Next level classic. This is the coming of age story of all coming of age stories. It doesn't get better than this. Like, it's literally the best, probably the best friends, like, just a group of friends story. Corey Feldman, River Phoenix, Jerry O'Connell, Will Wheaton, just such a good movie, man. The friendship, everything about. Like, I can remember the first time I watched it. It feels like the last time I watched it. It's there just isn't a better one. Everything aims to be it. You know, Goonies, Stranger Things. It's just, it hits that button, that perfect button, which was a group of friends. It's on an adventure, man. It's such a movie. It's a fucking good movie, man. It's so good. Storm of the Century. Rented Storm of the Century. I rented it, bought it. I bought this shit. I love this. I love this movie. I was shocked to see that it was made for TV. So good though. And it was an original story, not based on any book, not nothing. Like, Stephen King specifically wrote it for TV, and it was fucking good. I wish he wrote more things specifically just for TV. I wish they still did these miniseries, which I guess they kind of still do on Netflix. It's just called a miniseries, but I don't know. It doesn't have the same feel where you knew there was like 29 million Americans watching Stephen King's It. Like the whole feel of someone, like just everyone doing it together was different. I wasn't alive for Stephen King's It, but I was alive for like the 90s, like 94. I was only like 3, so I really wasn't. There were mini series that was around for that was kind of like that. I feel like there was like maybe this. When did this one come out? Like 96. Either way, so I was like 5. I would remember that. Either way, like I remember the feeling of knowing the whole world was watching it, and it was different than like a Netflix or something. So I do miss that. Storm of the Century was an absolute blast. I'm putting it B tier. Such a good movie. The evil man, the evilness of it, the evil guy, so good. The townspeople, it feels so Stephen King. You know Stephen King's finger, his imprint is on it. And that's what you want when you're going into a Stephen King movie. You want it to feel Stephen King. And then we get to the drug-induced Tommy knockers. It's a little above average. It's only a little above average. Most people probably would put this poo-poo or could live without. I put it a little above average because this is like kind of what comes to my head when I think of Stephen King. Because when I first was getting into Stephen King, the big old black and green Tommy knockers book, like, and then the TV. Maybe they replayed the miniseries. Hold on. Let's see. 93. There's no way I would remember that. Storm of the Century was 99. So 100%. That is what I'm remembering. Like, Storm of the Century was a big deal. It was. I remember it. I remember commercials. I remember people talking about it. I remember, like, people at the grocery store were talking about, like, it was a big deal. I felt it. It was, like, everything. Okay, so I was not around Time Hackers. Time Hackers to me, though, like, the book, for some reason. I don't, maybe it's just my library. Maybe it's the first one that caught my eye, the black and green. But it's what I think of when I think, well, it is. It's just part of my thought. Like, a little above average. Under the Dome, the first, like, 2 seasons were pretty good. This is also going a little above average. This shit is just, I got over it, man. Like, a lot of shows, this is like, all right, like, you're just like, this shit's continuing to continue. It doesn't need to be still going. Like, wrap it up. Kind of like this tier list, which we're gonna do soon, I promise. But yeah, it was a little above average to me. Oh, there is Kingdom Hospital. Nice. Okay, this is definitely B tier. I fucking loved Kingdom Hospital. I ate this up every week. The second it was out on DVD, I bought this up. I'm gonna rewatch this because this, I forgot all this, left my brain. This was beep 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 beep. It was all gone until this tier list. On one of the other lists because I just realized that Kingdom Hospital was on here. But on one of the other lists, Kingdom Hospital was on there. I was like, holy shit, I need to rewatch that. So beer, B tier, B tier. Oh god, now we're at incest. This fucking creepy ass movie. This movie's weird. This movie's goofy. I don't think it's based on anything. I think he wrote it just for this. So I guess maybe Storm of the Century was just lucky. This shit. You know what? Because of just the nastiness and goofiness, I'm putting this in It Could Live Without because I could definitely live without it. But I have returned to it. I will return to it again. I can say that I have not watched Sleepwalkers for my final time. I will be back to Sleepwalkers at some point. It does suck. It's weird. The whole mother-daughter thing. The whole cat thing. I don't fucking know. That's what I try to go back to that movie. I don't know what's happening. Either way. And we go final. I love this movie. I have watched Thinners so many times. Top tiering it. Thinner's top tiering it. And that's the way it ended. I love Thinner. The whole curse. It's creepy. It's goofy. I watched it so much as a kid for some reason. Rewatching it as an adult, it's not as much as I loved it, but it will stay top tier in me because, like I said, it's my tier list. It's how it makes me feel. But guys, we're finishing it up. We're wrapping it up. I cannot believe how long that took. But we got to go over the tier list one more time, and then we'll get out of here, and I'll get out of your guys' way. I promise. But I'm going to move over a little bit so we can just check out this list. Maybe move up here? No. Move over here. Put my head right here. Okay. Alright. So that'd be weird. Okay. Well, we move that. It's for the last bit. Let's go through it. The best of the best. The GOATs. Is the top guys. Trying to get my hand in there. The top guys. There we go. Top guys. We got It and Pet Sematary. Those are where I think you just get the kingy most king. As Stephen Kingy can get. You can go It and Pet Sematary. Then we got the next levels. Green Mile, Misery, Shawshank, Shining, Stand By Me. Cannot go wrong. Some of just film cinema classics. It just doesn't. I don't know if you can get better in cinema within the Green Mile, Shawshank, The Shining, and Stand By Me. Like, the Misery you might be able to, but like, let's be real. Like, that's some top tier shit too. Then we got Dreamcatcher. Like, just look at this list. I'm not gonna read them all. I'm just gonna show it. You can go through them, look at it. But we go all the way to the bottom of it. We got Trucks and Firestarter at the bottom because they're the poopiest of poo-poos. They're poopier than poo-poo. They're poopier than poo-poo. But thank you guys so much for joining me. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. It was a blast. I'm sure we'll do another one of these tier lists. What I'll tier, I don't know. I didn't know I was going to do this until it just came in my head. And I was like, I want to talk about some Stephen King today. That's what I want to talk about it. So let's go tier off his movies that'll take 2 hours. That'll be a blast. But thank you guys so much for joining me. I will catch you guys next time. Peace.